Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us here today. My name is Ben. I'm here with Sarah from Hearth and the man of the hour or the half hour or so, Hunter Ballew, like Beluga Bear. Ballew.
How you guys doing today?
I'm good, man. You doing well?
Yeah, doing good, man. Weather's decent here in South Carolina, so yeah, just hanging out, enjoying it, getting some work done before this event.
Did you guys get into that cold spell that reached you in South Carolina?
No, not bad. And when it came through, I was out in the Austin area, so it wasn't too bad.
It's coming through down here now. It's like 60 degrees here today. People are in Canada Goose jackets. Like that's the appropriate response from people in Texas. Like I need to be as bundled up as possible when it's below 70.
Ready to change their style.
Exactly.
Great. Cool. We got a lot of people still joining the room here. I know we have a lot of people that couldn't make it because we put this at kind of the middle of the day here. So we're sending it off, emailing out to everyone. We don't have a lot of time here with you today, Hunter. So you want to get to business?
Yeah, let's go.
Cool. Hunter, you were, so correct me my story here. I didn't check your Wikipedia page just based on my memory here. But so you were in the Marines, firefighter. Grew a roofing company, sold that roofing company. You run Revolt. You founded RoofCon. You founded roofing.com. You got a beautiful wife and kids as well. So that's a lot of stuff. We're not going to cover all those things today. But let's start from maybe not the complete beginning, but up to like the roofing portion, the contracting portion. Like what led up to you getting into roofing? What made the switch from Marines to firefighter to Hunter the roofer?
Yeah, so from a young age, I was always trying to figure out what I wanted to do, how I was going to establish my legacy and come up with a name for myself. And so I was always, chasing that significance through titles, through roles like being the Beta Club president, American Red Cross president, being on student council. Like those were the ways that I found significance. And so, when I was in high school, my parents kind of went down the path of getting into drugs and stuff. It split our family up. And so I just didn't know what I was going to do. Like I wasn't a big fan of school. I'm not the smartest guy when it comes to book smarts. I graduated like 189 out of 212. So I always joke that I barely missed the bottom 10%. But I knew that I wanted to do something and something where I would feel significant, like I was making a difference. So joined the Marine Corps, did that for about 6 years, went to the fire department, got my certification as a firefighter and an EMT. So got to do both of those things. And while I was at the fire department, my first job, I started at a county department and I was making like $24,000 a year. So like $703, I think is what I brought home every 2 weeks. So not that much money. And I knew I needed to do something on the side to make extra money if I wanted to have the things that I wanted to have, a better truck and a nice piece of land and maybe one day a lake house and things like that. And so I started a side business. It was called Upstate Hauling and Delivery, his little moving company. And so I did that, grew that, made more money doing that than I did at the fire department. And that just continued to evolve. I decided to take a position at a bigger fire department, the city fire department here in Greenville. And I got a huge raise all the way up to $34,000 a year, just absolutely crushing it, right?
Yeah.
So, I was having Texas Roadhouse like every week, unlimited smashing the rolls, right? So kept doing that. In 2015, a good buddy of mine, he had been a partner of mine at that first fire department, close friend, a mentor of mine. He was 30 years old. This is his flag behind me. He was on his way into work one morning about 3 miles from here, and a guy crossed over running from the cops and hit him head on. He lost his life. And for me, I was about 24 years old at that time. It was a foundational moment for me, a very significant moment in my life where I really decided, like, I'm going to make every day count. Some of you guys may know that I have the book I just released last month called Make It Count, and it stems from losing Jordan. I know it's real cliche to say, hey, we only have a limited amount of time. We don't know if we're promised tomorrow, yada, yada, yada. But it's true. Like it's true. Yeah. And we see that through our retreats. We've had people come to our retreats and 4 months later lose their life. We've had people come to RoofCon and 6 months later lose their life. And so, it's proven that our life, it has an expiration date. It doesn't matter how big and bad and wealthy you are. our lives have an expiration date, but our legacy doesn't have to. And so as I left the fire department, I jumped into the marketing world. I figured if I could learn how to market, I could grow any business. And so I did that. I focused on marketing. That led me to some roofers, working with roofers, helping them market their company. And I got this bright idea that I was going to start a roofing company as a case study. And I figured if I could get it to 7 figures, what I thought was a lot back then in the roofing space, and now I know it's not, I figured I could get more clients. And so I started Cornerstone. I didn't know anything about roofing, man. Really funny story. I met with my mentor one morning at Stack's restaurant here in Greenville, South Carolina. I'm like, Mark, I want to start a roofing company. And I'm surprised he didn't slap me for wanting to do like some new big idea. And he immediately was like, I got the guy for you that can help you do it. And I was like, okay, well, where is he? How do I get in touch with him? He's like, oh, he works for me at my mulch yard right up the road. We can go talk to him right now. And I was like, well, what do you mean? Like, how's he going to work for me if he's working for you? And he's like, well, he's not like super good at the mulch thing. So you can have him. He's used to roofing. He's really good at roofing. And I was like, well, if he's not good for you, what makes you think he's going to be good for me? He's like, oh, he's an honest guy, hard worker, always on time. He knows roofing really well. He just doesn't know the mulch business. So I was like, all right. And this guy's 64 years old. I still love him to death, would do anything for him. But
I was 64 at the time?
Yeah, 64. And I was like 20.
Always the best first employee for a roofing company is someone near retirement. Yeah, that's what everyone strives for.
Knows the game, right? And like I walk in there and I'm thinking like, there's no way I'm telling this dude I'm like a third of his age that he's coming to work for me, right? So I'm super nervous, and my mentor Mark ends up just kind of making the connection and makes it clear like, hey, you should go work with Hunter. And so Johnny jumps in and we crush it, start doing it. 2 years in, I was kind of taking it halfway serious because I was still doing the marketing thing. And then in 2019 is when I got real serious about Cornerstone. I said, hey, let's grow this thing. Let's build the team. Let's put out the systems and processes. And I built a program called 6-Figure Blueprint that now hundreds, maybe even thousands of companies are using around the United States. And we got serious about how do we grow this thing? How do we provide opportunity? How do we create a repeatable system so a new team member can come in and have success? So for me,
is this about where, because you say it all the time, you post all the time, you always say you aren't thinking big enough.
Yeah.
Is it about where this came from?
Yeah, for sure, man. I mean, I didn't. I'd like to sit here and pretend like I had all this foresight and I was super smart and knew that all this stuff was going to play out, but I didn't. It was always an evolution. But I think we catch ourselves thinking too small, or we don't catch ourselves thinking too small enough. And so, yeah, for me, making that pivot into roofing full time and saying, hey, I've just got to focus on this and quit doing the other stuff was big for me. And it allowed us to start growing. And then in true Hunter nature, I mean, it only took me like 9 months of focusing on that one thing to say, okay, I'm ready to do something else too. And so we started the RoofCon and we started what's now called Revolt. It wasn't called Revolt at first, but we started the mastermind. We called it Bold Brotherhood at the time, and then renamed it later on Revolt, and then RoofCon as well. And that first year at RoofCon in 2019, we had like 40 people there, like 10 vendors. The next year was 900 people, 50 vendors. The next year was 2,900 people and 125 vendors. And then this year, I think we're sitting at 230 vendors right now. I'm hoping for 4,000 to 5,000 people.
We'll be there. Sarah and I will be there.
Excited about it.
I'm very excited. I can't wait.
I'm so excited. We've been hanging out a lot this summer and this spring. You and your entire team. I mean, we've been traveling around and seeing a lot of each other, and everyone's psyched about RoofCon, man. Everyone online, on all the online forums are psyched about it. Like, I'm super. Here, actually, hold on one second. We do. Sarah, ask a question. I'll do a reveal while you're doing this.
I like the reveal. So now that you touched on a little bit before, where it's like you're not thinking big enough. So how does someone actually follow through on thinking bigger? How do you get into the mindset where you're able to evaluate, hey, this is currently how small I'm thinking. How do I kind of zoom out and look at the broader picture? If I'm, let's say a roofing contractor doing $500,000 a year, how do I evaluate that?
Yeah, I love that. I think for us, there's a couple of things. I like coming up with like really simple exercises that you can take your team through to impact them and make them think bigger than they are right now. One of those that I have is called Fulfillment 50, and I do that during one of my speeches a lot. Again, it's super simple. I'm not a real smart guy. So when people hear this, they're like, oh, that's dumb exercise. Anyone can do that. But if you actually do it and you follow through on it and you review it daily, it'll make the world of difference. And I have thousands of people that have done it that would tell you that. So we have 5 key elements, right? Number 1 is, what are your blessings? What are the things that you're grateful for? So that when you get to 2:00 in the afternoon and the homeowner makes you really mad, or the crew does something stupid, or you're having issues with cash flow, or you and your spouse are arguing, like, you can kind of reset, remember all the things that you have to be thankful for, so you don't get so flustered and in your feels. So I think establishing your blessings, and for each of these things, we have them write 10. That's why it's called 50. There's 5 elements, 10 of each. And we try to push them to get 10. Like, don't sell yourself short. There's a reason there's 10. If we said 1, I know what the number 1 would be for every single one. Everyone says family, number 1 for blessings. Number 2 is reasons. What are the reasons you do what you do? Why do you push so hard? For me, the top of the list is legacy. I want to leave a massive legacy. I want to continue to impact people after I'm gone. And then 3rd is targets. So creating targets and having targets with deadlines. I think that's so important. So if we want to have a conference, that's great. We're going to have it by the end of 2022. Well, we got the deadline. It had to be before December for us. We wanted to be in November. And then what are the targets within that as well? So have 4,000 people there, have 200 vendors there. For some of these sales guys, all they focus on, and all the owner focuses on, is how are they going to make the company more money? How are they going to fill their pocket with commission? And so I think it's important that you figure out what their targets are outside of money. Like, what are their health goals? Do they want to lose weight? Do they want to bench more in the gym? Do they want to be able to run around and chase their kid? Do they want to be able to run a 5K, do an Ironman, run a marathon? Like, figure out what they want their legacy to be. So that target piece.
Running around and chasing your kid turns into a 5K every day, Hunter.
Yeah.
You know that as well as I do. So. Well,
some people can't do it, right? And they want to be able to do it.
Yeah.
Like, one of my favorite stories, and this rolls into the next one, I'll go ahead and say it. The 4th element is consequences. For every target that you set, if you don't hit that target, there's a consequence. And some people may say, oh, it doesn't matter if I don't hit $1 million in sales. Well, yes, it does. Absolutely does. Because if you don't, then you can't, go out there and accomplish the things you said you were going to accomplish, whether that's buying your wife the new car or donating $10,000 to the charity or whatever it is. Like, there's a consequence. Same thing with weight loss. And Ed Milet, one of my favorite stories all the time is Ed talks about going to the doctor, having blood work and stuff done. And he goes back for the checkup, and the doctor, as soon as he walks in, the first thing he says is, do you want another man to walk your daughter down the aisle? And he said he just got infuriated, like he was pissed, like about to punch the guy. And he said, why are you saying that? And he said, because if you don't change the way you're living, you're not going to be the man that walks your daughter down the aisle. And it changed everything for him. And since that day, when he doesn't feel like getting up, when he doesn't feel like making his feet hit the floor and going to work out, guess what he does? He does it because the consequence is so strong. He doesn't want to have his daughter have to be walked down the aisle by another man. He doesn't want to miss that opportunity himself. And then lastly is excuses, figuring out what your excuses are. So 5th element, excuses. And this one's tough to come up with 10, because a lot of times we don't even realize what our excuses are. Number 1, everyone says is, I don't have time. All the time we say we don't have time, right? So establish that excuse. And if you're reviewing that every single day, it no longer can be an excuse, because every day you're reading that verbally that you said this is your excuse. And now when you tell yourself that, you can't even say it subconsciously, because it comes to mind that, oh my God, that's just an excuse. I got to suck it up and do the work. So those are just 5 little simple things we do through Fulfillment 50.
Name those 5 again real fast.
Yep. So number 1 is blessings, reasons, targets, consequences, and excuses. And kind of the whole frame of it is, it's called Fulfillment 50, because I believe you can't be full, you can't have fulfillment if you don't have clarity. So clarity leads to fulfillment. So get real clear on what you want out of life, and then you'll find fulfillment.
Let's talk. I should have named this. I have known you well enough, Hunter. I should have named this growing your business with fulfillment, not with purpose. Interchangeable a little bit, but so a little more like business practical content for the contractors out there listening, the roofers, the guys running small business out there. So yeah, those things seem really easily translatable to personal lives, right? Like, we all want to see my kids grow up. That's why I quit smoking years ago, because once I started having kids, I couldn't keep smoking. That was the thing that triggered it. After years of trying, that was the thing that actually did it for me. But when I think about like business wise, how how do you implement those sort of things, to help your business? How do you actually help that achieve the goal? Is it just being goal oriented and following through with it? Or is it more, having to put more systems into place and thinking it, day to day? Here's what we're going to do day to day doing it. What's your thought on it?
Yeah, so I think it's establishing those things with your team, going through an exercise like that with your team, but then on the back end of that, hold them accountable.
With your team, not just with the owner.
Yeah, absolutely, with the team. So like, I think you guys know that we do retreats. We do free retreats where we pay for the lodging, we pay for the food and the apparel and the training and everything. People just have to show up. We don't cover the travel. You got to make it there, right? But we do these things, and we dive in and we encourage them to go back and to do it with their teams. And we've had a ton of business owners come in, take exactly what we do at the retreat, like take our branded content. We'll even give it to them and say, hey, go do this with your team. And it makes the biggest difference. We just had a guy come in to his last retreat. It was like the 4th or 5th retreat he's been to. He came back to help lead this one. And he was talking about how he's done 2 retreats with his team now and the difference that it's made. So yeah, I think going through it, but then tacking on that accountability is everything. Because it's easy to say, hey, let's set some goals. Let's talk about what your excuses are and the consequences and reasons, blessings. But if you don't hold them accountable, they're going to slip. They're going to fall.
Yeah.
So how do you hold them accountable at mass is the question, because as you grow an organization and you have dozens of employees, you can't know every spouse's name. You can't know every kid's name. You can't make every birthday party. Like as a leader, as the boss, you want to be able to do that, but it's just not realistic. So it's developing more leaders within the company that can fill that void. And, accountability, group accountability is great. Like with the Revolt, we get asked all the time to do one-on-one coaching and things like that. And dude, I don't do one-on-one coaching for $100,000. Like it's about the group to me. I don't always have the answer. Sometimes the best answer is going to come from a guy inside the group. So we're real big on group accountability, and you can do that within your company as well.
Yeah, I think I had a question written down here. I think it's a great segue. Kind of what we're talking about is these Revolt retreats, which I really want to go to Gatlinburg, and I unfortunately had to miss out. We had a hurricane hit here in Puerto Rico. And I was just out of power, and travel just became nonsensical for me. I'm gonna try and make the next one though, because I've already gotten pictures texted to me and stuff. It looked like awesome. It looked beautiful too, beyond just like the impactfulness. But you guys you've told me before, you guys, or at least you've done it before, is the writing of the obituary, right? And I talked to another business owner. I want you to talk about that for a second, but I also talked to a business owner about that recently, and he did the same thing about his business. He wrote the obituary for his business as well. Him and his team sat down and wrote the obituary for his business. So I'll let you talk here, Hunter, but kind of explain like what that writing obituary is and kind of how that helps you follow through with what you're doing, both personally and business wise.
Yeah, for sure. I just got off a podcast with Michael Stearns, and he asked the same thing. So yes, this exercise we crafted called Lasting Legacy Exercise. How do you create a lasting legacy after you're gone? And so we take them to a cemetery out in Gatlinburg. We always rent this huge cabin up in Gatlinburg, and we take them out to a cemetery that's in the middle of nowhere. And as we walk up to the cemetery, we pull up a laptop, we have the speaker ready, and we show them a video. And the video is of a guy named Lex Wilbanks that was one of our retreat attendees about 1.5 years ago, running around, playing on the football field. You can see him reading his eulogy, just like everyone else is about to do when they go to that cemetery. And 4 months later, after he had come to our retreat, 30 years old, he passed away from brain cancer. Beautiful wife, 2 kiddos. It was a couple of days after he had turned 31 years old, and he was gone. And so it really hits home for most of these business owners that come, and they get to see a real life example of someone who was standing exactly where they're standing, and they're no longer with us. And there was no reason to think that he wouldn't be with us. He was completely healthy. They literally just watched a video of him running around playing football. And so we walk into the cemetery. I ask them to find a headstone that relates to them, whether it's a name of someone that they know, whether it's a date that's significant to them. And this time we just had a guy, Sean, come, and he found a tombstone where the date of death was the date of his recovery, the first day that he got sober from using meth. And so that was really cool to hear that after the fact, that he found that date of significance and it spoke to him directly. And so then they're all at their tombstone. They pick one that's significant to them. They get comfortable. Obviously, we're respectful of the site. And then I walk them through the exercise, and it starts like this. I want you to write down your first name, your last name, and was. Your first name, your last name, was. So Hunter Ballew was. And it's just that one little thing kind of sets the tone for the rest of it, because we're looking at it and we're saying, hey, we're no longer here. What do we want to be remembered as? And we do things a little bit differently. I've heard of people doing like a eulogy and stuff. We've made ours a little bit different. So for us, we have them write it from the perspective of the person that means the most to them. So it may be their spouse, it may mean their daughter, it may mean their son, their best friend, or their mom if they're not married, but the person who means the most to them, because we want it to be emotional. We want them to feel it. And so we have them start writing, and I walk them through it and I give them prompts. And the goal is they're not writing a eulogy about who they are today. Super important piece of this. If you never come to retreat and you decide you want to try this, you're not writing a eulogy about who you are today. You're writing a eulogy about who you want to be remembered as. What do you want them to say about you? How do you want to be remembered? What do you want your legacy to be? And this gets tough, man. Like you got a bunch of grown men just bawling their eyes out, right? Because they realize I'm not that man yet. There's so much distance that I have to make up to become that man. But that's exactly what we're doing with this exercise, is figuring out what the distance is and reverse engineering it to figure out how to get there. And so we have everyone stand up once they're done, do a big circle. Everyone reads it to the rest of the group. That's super hard for people to vocalize it. Usually a lot of breakdowns there. And then the hardest piece of all is we challenge them to go home to their spouse and read it to their spouse, or the person who they wrote it from their perspective, if they're old enough, it's not a 4-year-old, read it to them, so that there's that level of accountability. And that's the hardest piece. Now, I'd probably say 50% or less actually go home and do that because it is so hard. But the people who do get to see the most impact. When you go home and you share that with your spouse and you say, hey, this is the man I want to be. I'm not there yet, but I need you to hold me accountable so that I'm taking actions to move towards that. It is so powerful. And your spouse is going to see a different you and realize that now you are more legacy focused. That's something that, I care a lot about. I talk a lot about. Is there's a lot of like leadership experts and people that talk about legacy. My kind of core thing, we even created this statement, I've never heard anyone else say it, is legacy focused leadership. So leading with legacy in mind. Every decision you make is not for a result you get today or tomorrow or next week or next year, but results you'll get decades and centuries from now, for people that you're going to impact that are never going to know your name. They're never going to see your face. It's not about your name being on some football stadium or on a sign coming into your hometown. It's about the people you're going to impact from the actions you took today.
Yeah, that's Sarah, it's incredible. Like, this is why I want Hunter on, because
yeah,
I can hear Hunter talk for days and not get bored, because
you're the only person that tells me that, so I appreciate it.
Yeah, I think it's interesting to think about purpose being something that's not necessarily in the present, and legacy as well. I think it's easy, especially a lot of people on this call are busy. I mean, we all are, but when you're kind of in the daily grind of everything, I think it's really hard to be vulnerable like that and to have that conversation with yourself, to be like, okay, what does the next 5 years look like? What do the next 10 years look like if I'm actually going to be able to, have this as my obituary? That's very cool.
I think, first off, anyone that's on the call, feel free to chime in here. There's a chat down here. Feel free to ask Hunter a question, ask us a question. I'm sure Hunter will be happily answer anything you guys have, kind of more practically. So when I think of like leaving a legacy and like, living with purpose and running my business with purpose, here at Hearth, I mean, the way we always talk about it is, finding ways to free up your time, save yourself time, free up your own time, streamline your processes. You talk about that a little bit. Yeah. We talk about quotes and estimates and offering financing and, collecting payment and how much that can free up your time. One thing that Hunter's told me before, when you ran a roofing company, you didn't care about shingles, right? Like, you have no interest in shingles.
No, I tell people all the time, man, like with Revolt, we've opened it up to all businesses now. It's not just roofing and solar guys. And we're launching a new event we haven't even announced yet. We just got the contract today for the venue and dates. We're trying to get it locked in, but it'll be for all entrepreneurs. And something I say pretty vocally all the time, and this is not a knock on the roofing industry at all. The roofing industry has provided so much to me. I love the people of the roofing industry, but I don't want my legacy to just be tied to the roofing industry. I want my legacy to be tied to legacy-focused leadership.
Yeah. So like from the question I was teetering to there was you never cared about shingles. You
No.
never cared about. So from like a business perspective or practical perspective, you knew what you did really well, and you focused all your energy on that. You hired the right people, and you got the right crews to do everything else for you, and grew the business together with them, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, talk about like the importance of doing that as a business owner, also doing it as like a husband and father, like just having kids and a wife to have to go home to and actually spend time with. Like a lot of people in this room don't have the opportunity to do all the time.
It's invaluable, man. I mean, you can look at it, and some people just like a different business model where they're more involved. Maybe it's control, maybe they feel like they're more profitable. But at the end of the day, you know, if you're looking at margins, maybe you are a little less profitable by hiring a team and outsourcing some of it. But there's value in the time that you get back from that to spend with your family, to do the activities that you love. And then on top of that, it's just providing opportunities to other people, because you're going to find fulfillment through that. So like there's so many people, you know, we have a young guy that's in our Revolt group. He's in our paid mastermind. When he joined us, he was 20 years old. Now he's like 22 years old. And he messaged me the other day. He's talking about hiring people, and he's just so nervous to hire these folks. And I'm like, look, man, you know who you are. You know what you stand for. You know that you have the right tools, the training, the technology to give them, to equip them to win. At the end of the day, if they fail and you have those things in place and you know that in your heart, it's on them. It's not on you. Now, we can do a better job as owners of trying to disqualify the wrong people, but anyone can BS their way through an interview. We all know that, right? Like you can have all kind of, we have a
That's how I've gotten where I am. So
exactly. Yeah. We've got a pretty tight process, personality tests, videos, all that stuff, but still you just get some knuckleheads every once in a while. So yeah, man, I think it's important that you build out a team around yourself, provide opportunity, and look for that. You'll find fulfillment in that.
Yeah. I talked to actually someone that is in the Revolt group a couple of weeks ago, kind of the same kind of topic. And I asked him kind of the same kind of question. And he was like, well, if I'm redoing my house, like I know how to roof, but I'm not going to try to do the plumbing.
Right.
It's my house, but I'm going to hire someone else to do the plumbing because there's better plumbers out there than what I am. So I got, from a business owner perspective, like there's a lot of opportunity out there, not to just free up your own time so you can focus on what's really important, but also find experts. I always say my best hire is hiring someone that's way smarter than I am. If I can surround myself with smarter people than me, then I'm
dude, like Jenna with RoofCon, dude. If I didn't have Jenna, I tell her all the time, please don't die. I don't know what I'd do if you die. Like I would be so screwed. But yeah, finding people like that, like Blake, like Posey, like William, like Daniel. I mean, I could go on and on and on and on. And all the businesses, like it's just putting A players around me so I can do what I'm good at, cast the vision, focus on leadership, focus on the big ideas, and then they can ground me and say, okay, let's build this out a little bit slower and get to that place that you envision. But I have to have them around me.
Yeah. Speaking of RoofCon, RoofCon's in a couple of weeks, right? God, it's creeping up on us.
Dude.
So close.
Oh, dude, 3 weeks.
So you got some prep to do. I'll be there. Like I said, Sarah will be there. Hunter, you'll probably be there.
I hope
Tim Tebow will freaking be there.
Yeah, Tim Tebow.
Sarah texted me earlier and asked me if Tim Tebow was single.
Curious.
I don't know why she wanted to know that, but
yeah.
So talk a little bit about RoofCon. Obviously, you know, hundreds of vendors going, thousands of business owners, salespeople, and people all over the roofing industry. I actually know people outside the roofing industry going this year as well, just to attend. And I know you got us a discount code too for everyone here. So we'll be sure to send that out. It's Hearth10, but we'll talk about that here in a second.
Yeah. Man, it is going to be wild this year. Like last year. So just for context for people who haven't been before, you know, first year, super small, Nashville, Tennessee, had 40 people. And then I mentioned the second year, 2020, COVID hit. And we're like, oh my gosh, how's it going to go? Like, should we do this? We went ahead and did it. We figured most roofers wouldn't care, and they didn't. We had 900 people show up. We had 50 vendors, but we had some serious audio issues. We did the keynote in like one of the expo halls and hired an AV company to handle it, and they just did not do a very good job. And so there's some major audio issues. A lot of people were frustrated. Obviously, nobody was more frustrated than me. And so the next year we roll into it. And we're like, man, we hope that we didn't scare all these people away. We didn't. It continued to grow. Like I said, 29, I think it was 2986. We just barely missed 3,000 that showed up. Went to Orange County Convention Center down in Orlando, brought in a couple of out of industry speakers. We had John Maxwell, Ed Milet, Craig Rochelle, Andrew Cordell. And so it was a great time. And last year was really the year, like, I felt like it all came together. Like everything just went off without a hitch. It was great. Everyone was happy. Every person I talked to was like, I'm coming back next year. I'm bringing my spouse. I'm bringing my team, da, 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 da. And now I'm looking at it like, well, gosh, why aren't you guys buying tickets yet? Because it's like 3 weeks out and you're freaking me out. You know what I mean? So no, we're excited though, man. I think we're about halfway there on tickets, which is pretty good because usually we sell like 50% of our tickets in the last week.
Yeah.
That's freaking roofers for you. I can't say anything because I'm the exact same way, dude. I'm the guy that like books my flight the day of. I don't book a hotel or an Uber or a rental car until I get to the city. So I get it.
What's the dates?
November 6th through the 8th. It's literally 3 weeks from today will be the last day of the event.
How do people buy tickets? Oh, I'm sorry, Sarah.
Oh, no,
sorry,
you're fine.
You.
No, you're
people
good.
Buy tickets at roofcon.com, right?
Roofcon.com. And if you type in Hearth10, it'll give you 10% off.
Cool.
Awesome. Thank you for the discount code. No, you're good. My last kind of question for you is how going to live events, even as, a vendor myself, I've been going to a fair amount of live events recently. What's the best way to maximize these types of events? As a young roofing contractor, when you're getting together with other people in the industry and you're getting together with vendors, what are the best ways to really maximize these and come home with, tons of information and a lot of insight? Because I think it's really easy to go to these events, and there's incredible value in them and there's so many people you can learn from, but what are ways to make sure you're getting the most out of them?
Yeah, I wish every person that was coming to RoofCon could hear this answer, what I'm about to say. I try to do a good job on day one from stage, setting the expectation for the event.
Hey, we're recording it, so we can share it.
Good, yeah. I think it's so important that you come and you understand that the keynotes are going to be great. Tim's going to do great. Nick's going to do great. Eli's going to do great. John, me, Eric, Adam, everyone. It'll be good. Like you can make, I promise you, if you come and you listen to speakers, you can make hundreds of thousands, maybe even millions of dollars off of what you'll learn. But the true value comes from the networking. The true value comes from the other people in the room that you can build a relationship with and take that relationship home and have it for years to come. I've been saying this for a couple of years since the first year I started RoofCon 2019. I said this from stage: 7-figure handshakes trump 6-figure keynotes every day of the week. The keynotes are great and you can make a lot of money, but it's the relationships where you'll get the highest ROI. So come in there, and when you come with an open mind, come with a willingness to not just learn, but to give back to others. I think that's what makes RoofCon different, is we attract a different kind of contractor, a different kind of business owner who wants to come and give back to the industry. They're not fearful. They don't have a scarcity mindset and afraid that their competition is going to figure out what they're doing. They're coming to learn and to give. So I think that's so important that you come with that mindset. You come, you say, hey, it might be outside of my comfort zone to shake hands, to go around to the vendors, to stop another roofer and talk to them. Just be willing to do it. Step outside of your comfort zone. If you do it, I promise you, you won't regret it. I promise you, you'll get a 100x ROI on your money for coming.
That's great.
I love that. Thank you. Because even myself as a vendor, like I had to have that conversation with myself, 5 years ago when I went to my first convention. I'm like, it's okay, Sarah. Like, even if they, no one's going to like make fun of you here. Like, it's going to be a good good event for you. So I appreciate you sharing that.
Everyone should have popped up here. Let everyone know on the call here whether you're interested in learning more about Hearth, want to learn more about RoofCon and roofing.com, both, or whether you're just here, just get out of work, whichever one you're trying to do. Let us know. We'll send you over a recording of this video so you can share it with the rest of your team and anyone else. We'll send you over that discount code for RoofCon there as well. Come see us. Like, I'm super excited for it. One thing I'm so appreciative of, and it's kind of followed what you just said, Hunter. I always like talking to you. I always like hearing you talk because I think you give a different perspective. And it's not so much, hey, just, you're not an accountant, right? You're not just an accountant telling people, here's how to crunch numbers to grow your business. Like, you bring a different purpose to it. I like how I tie that back in there. I mean, you bring a different purpose to running a business and what it can mean for you and your family, what it can mean for your legacy, what it can mean for your staff, for your employees to be successful and how to be successful. There's a lot of different ways to do that, But unless you actually roadmap it out and reverse engineer it and what your goals want to be, it's really difficult for people to achieve it. So I always encourage people, go listen to Hunter, go listen to his team, and go to places like RoofCon. What I found is that same sort of community that you find there, people take that and they take that home with them. Yeah. And so when they have a community at RoofCon, and then they go back to, Sarah in Austin is going to go start acting the same way in Austin. And she runs a business there, then she starts operating that same kind of way. And then she becomes known as like the Austin gal of roofing. I don't know if you ever roofed before, Sarah, but I think it's just a great experience for everyone to be a part of, and really be able, like, what a better way to grow your business than just be an active part of your community, and really grow your business locally. Absolutely love it.
Yeah, man, we tell people every time, if you come and you don't get the value, you just tell us, we'll refund you your ticket. We know that you'll get the value if you actually try.
Yeah. Hunter, I appreciate your time so much today. We've gone over a little bit here already, but thank you so much. We'll see you in a couple weeks.
Thank you, man. Thank you, Sarah.
Get some rest, and it's all over here pretty soon. You'll get to celebrate the holidays out here before too long, man. Right?
Sounds good, guys.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Hunter. And thanks everyone for hopping on.